Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chu and today we're going to be going over this Kendrick Lamar beat that I made yesterday. Now if you want to listen to the full beat, which I totally recommend, you can find it in a link in the description below and it will also be appearing in an annotation on your screen now. So this tutorial is going to be a very in-depth, kind of intricate look into my production process. I'm going to be talking to you as if you're a producer in the room with me. I'm going to be doing a lot of rambling. It's going to give you an opportunity to kind of be a fly on the wall in a much different way than the silent cookups allow you to. So I really hope you enjoy it. I don't have too much other rambling to do in terms of the introduction, other than drop a like on this video if you learned something new or just end up enjoying the content. The likes really help me understand what you guys want to see and what you don't want to see. So if you like seeing me go in depth, if you enjoy the content, if you like seeing me break down my beats, smack that like button, like really run it up on that like button because it's really helpful to the channel. Sure, that's great, it helps me grow, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is that I really want to know what type of content I should keep putting out to you guys. So help me out, help me help you guys, help me help the rest of the dope family. Smack that subscribe button if it's still red so I can buzz away in your pocket the next time I have some dope content. Follow me on Instagram, join my Discord, and without further ado, let's get into the cookup. Peace. Oh, also, all these drum sounds will be added in a DLC addition to the 14 drum kit, which you can download in the description below. You definitely don't want to miss out on this because this beat is super hard and you want to have these drum sounds. All right, peace. Okay, so let's really get into this beat. I think I'll start with the section that most people are going to be interested with, and then we'll move kind of in reverse. So we'll start with this sample, which is Fall in Love. I think the song is actually Can't We Fall in Love Again by some band from some time age from far before I was born. But I actually got this sample from my boy Fleur. He's a GOAT, he's an OG in the YouTube producer game. You might also know him as Flowers in Narnia, or he's you know, rebranded his name a bunch of times, but he's legendary. He's got like multiple beats with millions of views on YouTube. He makes dope sounds, he makes dope beats, all of that. He's super dope, got a bunch of placements. But yeah, I got this sample from his free Kreative Kulture kit. This is free, it's got a bunch of like dope sounds, just a bunch of dope like textures and stuff like that. So this is one of the best kits I've actually ever worked from. So this is the original sample. And you know, I'm gonna try not to play the whole thing because I don't actually want this video to be copyrighted, like copyright striked. So I'm actually gonna pitch this down as well. I made the mistake of not pitching it down in the original beat and I got a copyright for that too. But I ended up using that for the intro. Now I didn't start with this ended up being something that I added at the end. I actually, of course, if you saw my last tutorial from last weekend about drum bounce, I started with the drums for this beat and everything else kind of fit in around it. But because we're working backwards, I want to talk about the sample, especially since it's the first thing that you end up hearing. So what I did is I basically just took it, brought it in here, and I literally just put this retro game stereo preset on it from RC Color or Retro Color 20, and I think I turned down the digital like a little bit, and then I added some reverb by turning the space up just a little bit. And then yeah, that's basically it. I didn't even pitch it down and I didn't time stretch it or anything. It's just the intro like that. Like, shout out Fleur for creating this dope kit with a bunch of dope samples. Honestly, if he still has it out, I'll link it to you guys so that you can grab it, because I've made a bunch of dope beats, got a bunch of dope placements from using this kit. It's like crazy. Like the placement I got with Yanga Chief on BBAF, I used this kit heavy in that. So, you know, again, shout out Fleur, man. That dude is the GOAT for real. So hopefully no copyright strike with this. So then, before we get into the next part, I can't remember the producer's name who made the kit that I got these two textures from, these kind of like ambient textures from. But this first one is called The Sanctuary, and it's just a bunch of birds chirping. So that's what you hear in the background. And for that, in the mixer, I literally just put an equalizer, and there's not even an equalizer on it right now because I don't have Ozone 8 on the computer that I'm showing you this on. So that's literally what it sounded like. But I think I had a filter kind of like this. I took out some of the low end and some of the high end, and it was kind of more like that. Right? So that's That's how that all sounds together. It's really like, it gives you like a real vibe and a real atmosphere. It's really subtle, but you know, it kind of brings that vibe in. So the next thing that ends up happening is, this was another thing that I added after the fact when I was kind of when I was turning this beat into an actual track. I added this tape start effect from my boy Artist, FM drum kit. It's a super dope drum kit. I'm gonna link it below as well, bro. Artist makes some crazy drum kits, man. It's crazy, super hard. But yeah, tape stop is just a regular tape stop effect, and I just kind of cut it so that it could sound clean within everything. And then it jumps into the drum beat. So before we get into the actual drum beat, I want to go to the end where the beat switches up. So once the drum beat is done, so we finish up here.
Yo, Pat, man, fire that up.
Blunt It Up. This is again from the Kreative Kulture, you know, drum kit. I'm telling you, this thing is crazy. Let me see where I actually got it from. I think it was in extras. Blunt It Up, right? It's right there. So what I ended up doing basically was,
Yo, Pat, man, fire that up, John up.
I just brought it in, and that's it. And that was like to transition into this second part of the beat.
Man, we done spoke the whole sack, man.
Right? It's just some people chilling, talking, smoking up, you know, getting high or whatever. And it's real. It's like, it just adds like that vibe of like, this is like not a beat. It's kind of like more like it's a track. It's like a song. It's like, it's a piece of music. That's what I was really going for with this. Cause like, I noticed that I've been listening to Damn a lot lately, actually, which was Kendrick Lamar's last studio release. And I noticed it's got, the production value on it is incredible. Like, it's almost like you would think Kendrick Lamar literally made every beat himself because of the way everything fits together, the way everything glues together. And actually, this track was heavily inspired by Triple X or XXX or X Rated, however you end up saying it. And it's the song that features U2, where it's got like this super vibey kind of like, I think it's U2 was maybe singing the Star Spangled Banner or some song that's basically glorifying America, and then it cuts immediately and drops into this super hard drum beat. So that was the vibe I was going for, you know, the entire time. So, you know, just creating something that's more of an experience and less of just a beat, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what Kendrick Lamar does. His music is experience. It's not just a beat. It's not just a nigga rapping. It's like actually, you know, an experience. So for the Blunt It Up, I didn't even add an effect on that. And there was no effects on that. I was literally just put it in and that was it. You know what I'm saying? Now we can kind of jump into this would be the third part of the beat actually, which again, this was one of the last things that I actually ended up working on. Now, as you can see, I initially meant to have these trap drums keep going. So it was gonna sound like this at the beginning, actually. I didn't even have, right, I didn't even have this 808. It was gonna still use this. Right, it was gonna be that. And that's cool, right? It's cool. It's not bad. But I saw a tutorial from Navi D recently, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but in it he said something very interesting. He said that trap drums can ruin beats sometimes, especially like when you have something that's not necessarily, it doesn't have that trap vibe. Like when you drop into this sample, like it doesn't need trap drums. It didn't need trap drums. I would have just been really lazy to keep going with the trap drums. So like I was content with it at first, and then I kind of like flashed back to that tutorial and I was like, like let me just try something. So before we get into like what I ended up doing, first of all, the sample that makes up this part is cut literally from the original sample, the Fall in Love sample, which again, I really should pitch that down because I don't want that copyright strike, but you know what, it's whatever. Y'all been showing love on the channel anyway, so it's not gonna hurt my pockets that much. It won't hurt me that much if I get one freaking video copyright strike. It's like not that big a deal, but it's literally just this one section. I cut it and that was it. So what I did was I brought it in here like this. So I'll just grab it and show you guys exactly what I did. I brought it literally like that, Didn't time stretch it, nothing. I just cut it right there like that and then duplicated it over. And that was it. That was it. That was all I did. I didn't do anything like extra, nothing. Cause for this beat, I literally just wanted to be like, bro, I want to put some dope shit together. I'm not worried about time stretching. I'm not worried about flipping the sample. I'm not worried about any of that. Like, I just want to make a piece of music that sound like, if I needed to send this beat to Kendrick, it's gonna be good. Like, I'm not worried about showing off my producer prowess. I don't care about all that. Like, I just want to make something that sounds good. So that's what I did. I cut it. I didn't even time stretch it. It just ended up fitting like perfect. It ended up fitting perfect. So from there, I had the trap drums, like I said, and it was good. It was good. Like, I could have left it like that and the beat would have been straight, honestly. Like, but it wouldn't have created that type of vibe. Like, y'all been showing crazy love on this beat in just one day. Like, it's getting, I think it's like at 200 likes right now, and it usually takes a while for my beats on this channel to get to that level of engagement. So like, I know y'all felt this vibe start to finish, and the reason y'all did is because of that, and the way the energy keeps switching, but it's almost like seamless. So I wanted to like keep that going. I didn't want to just drop straight back into the trap drums, because it would have been like whatever. Like, a nigga would have been like, okay, like more trap drums, all right, I'm gonna just click off this. It's like, it's cool. But instead, I brought in these like boom bap type drums. It's kind of like lo-fi shit, which I got these drums from, bro, if you want to know, nah, not Recent Files. If you want to know who has some of the best like drum loops like this and textures, bro, the boy, the Kount, man, he is the GOAT, bro. Shout out the Kount, bro. Oh my goodness, he is the GOAT. So I got this from his Kount Drums volume 3 kit, and it's like only 30 bucks. I think it's even cheaper than that. Now I'm gonna link all this in the description below, bro, because the thing about being a producer is it's not about just showing off your skill, like, oh, I could do this all by myself, or like, you know, I can handle this all by myself. I'm the guy who made the drums, I'm the guy who made the melody, I didn't sample anything. It's like, okay, like, you're really cool, like, congrats on your massive dick, bro. But like, the real goal is to, you're a producer, you're supposed to produce beauty. Like, it doesn't matter how you get there as long as it's ethical. So this beat ended up taking things from like 6 or 7 producers and putting all that shit together, and it has samples, it has everything, but it's a beautiful piece of music because, you know, I kind of was able to get outside of myself and get outside of my ego and just say, all right, I'm gonna do something different. I'm just gonna put a bunch of stuff together and make it sound good. So, you know, not to ramble too much more about that, but I got this from his drum loop section of the kit, and it was these Vander drums right here. Crazy, right? It's got the textures and everything right in there, bro. Bro, this kit's crazy, bro. It's crazy. So, and then, so I'll just actually show you how I did that real quick. So it was this is how the sample originally is. So what I did was I held down Alt so that I could stretch it without getting snapped to the grid, and I dragged Alt. I dragged the sample until it was 8 bars exactly. All right, and then once I did that, it applied some time stretching. So what I did was I came here and I reset the pitch, and then I pitched it down 200 cents. And then in terms of effects, I believe that's completely dry. Like, I don't think there's any effects on there. Yeah, no effects, just leveling. And then, so the only other thing that's really going on here is the 808, which we'll get into in a second. But other than that, it's just, it drops an octave. That's it. The sample drops an octave. So here's the 808 pattern that I end up using. This comes from the pharmaceutical drum kit by Hayes, which you can get in the link. It'll be in the link in the description below. It's available in my store. Hayes is one of the best drum producers out there, man. He's got the best kits, original sounds and everything. But here's the 808 pattern, super simple. I was trying to simulate a bass guitar. it doesn't have to be anything it doesn't have to be anything complex. Actually, simplicity is your goal, especially when you're thinking of like, what is something that's going to get an actual placement? Because when you're doing all the complex 808s and complex bass patterns and, you know, 5 or 6 melody layers, that's something that only impresses other producers. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to impress, it's not going to impress artists that much. It's actually probably going to turn them off, and that's not something that you want to do. Now, before we leave this, a lot of people ask me about mute notes all the time. I use mute notes for a litany of reasons, so like I'm just gonna start explaining it from right now so that you guys don't keep asking, or at least you'll start to get some explanations as to why I do these things. So this mute note is basically just, I was too lazy to adjust the envelope. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I just didn't feel like doing it. So what I did was I knew that every 808 was set to cut itself already, because it's set to cut itself. So what I did was I just put a mute note at the end of the pattern so that it wouldn't ring off at like once it was done. So like right here, for example, it'll just stop. If I didn't have that mute note, this is what it would do. So all it's doing is playing a note. It's still playing a note, so it's gonna cut the previous note, but because the note is silent, or it has the lowest velocity setting possible, which is 0, which is no noise, it's gonna play the note, but it's gonna be silent, but it's gonna cut the other one. So it's like, you know, it's just a way to keep the 808 from ringing off into the next bar. That's all. It's just, I could have adjusted the envelope by going to the ADSR settings and, you know, doing the thing where you turn everything down except the holes, which you turn all the way up, but I just didn't feel like doing it. And yeah, that's the 808 pattern. That's basically it. And that just repeats over and over again. There's like a little bit of variation. The blended up sample comes back in, and then it drops again. But that's basically it, you know, it's super simple. So let's get into the last section of this beat, which is, I actually started with the drums. I spent about 2 hours on this part of the beat, and then everything else came together in the last 20 minutes. It was actually super easy once I got past this drum bounce. So I'm just gonna play it for you one time through, and then I'm gonna explain everything so that you can kind of understand what went into this. Okay, so there's like a lot happening. So let's start from the top. So first we've got this kick pattern. Oh, sorry. We've got this kick pattern. Right? So just simple kick pattern with a simple bounce. Then we've got this very basic snare, which it doesn't play on every single 3 out of the 8 bar, and that's just to add that bounce. It's not hitting every single time. Super simple. Then I have this hi-hat pattern again. It's got some spacing in it. It's not hitting on every single 2-step. Super. Then we have this extra hi-hat that's in there. It's kind of like it's almost like an accent, really. I was really kind of trying to create that New Orleans bounce type vibe, which is why we end up with these Manny Fresh kind of like old school hits in the beat, or these old school like one shots. So this was the one that I got from the Kreative Kulture kit. He's actually got a few of them too, but I didn't use it because I knew that I had a Manny Fresh kit from Splice. So I was like, let me just go straight to the source and grab it from the guy who made these sounds super popular. He didn't make them, but he made them popular. So what I did was I went to his kit and I grabbed one of the one shots, and then that's just one of the sounds that plays throughout the drum bounce. And then I added another Manny Fresh effects, but this time, because I think he maybe didn't have this one in his kit. So but I still know I wanted this like record scratch kind of effect in my beat. So I knew, because I love using these types of sounds like all the time. Like I love these Manny Fresh, New Orleans bounce sounds. Like I love that drum bounce. If you want to know like where my drum bounce comes from, it's from studying Wonder Girl and it's from studying Manny Fresh. They are some of the coldest drummers to me, bro. Like crazy. So that I knew I wanted that kind of like effect to add more funk to it, just more grime to it. So that's what I ended up doing, and that's how the pattern goes. Oh, and by the way, that comes from my Centerfold 1.5 drum kit. If you were wondering where you could get it, though I'll drop a link to that in the description below as well. So yeah, right, it's a lot of kits coming together to make this beat. That's where the beauty comes in, when you can just, you know, paint a picture with a bunch of different colors. So it's just simple, nothing crazy, right? So then we have this Kanye kind of like screaming effect, which again, it comes from the FM kit from my boy Artist. I'm telling you, it's one of the best kits out for just being creative, man. It's got some hard ass drums, and it's got some crazy just like textures and effects and stuff like that. Right? I had more going on at first. Oh, so these mute notes is just, I had more at first, but it ended up, you know, filling too much space and being too annoying. So I took a lot of them out at the end. And sometimes I prefer to mute them in case I want to bring them back in. And I like to remember where everything is. So that's why a lot of times you'll see me using muting notes. They're not doing anything. It's either because I'm too lazy to take them out. I'll say that's about 90% of the time. And then the other 10% is just, I want to remember where everything was, but I don't necessarily want it to play. It's just, I want to remember just in case I want to replace the sound, or, you know, I want to bring the sound back in eventually, or, you know, I want to use the drum bounce for a different beat. It could be any reason, you know what I'm saying? Right, I have this 808 from Artist Kit, man. Hard drums, the FM kit, hard drums. So it's actually two patterns using this Trophies 808. This first pattern is like this. Right? And then it just rings off at the end like this. So this 808 pattern actually started off, again, if you've seen my drum bounce tutorial from last weekend, it just started off exactly on the C. There was none of these extra notes that are playing any type of melody or anything like that. It was literally, you can even see it. I ended up muting a lot of the C's and then replacing them with other notes after the fact. So when I was first working on the drum bounce, I didn't want to get too caught up in creating an 808 melody right off the bat. So, you know, it was just C basically everywhere. And then I came back in, I created, how would I say this? I created a little bit of a melody using the 808 based off the harmonic minor scale or the melodic minor scale. And you can tell that that's what I did if you just go to the Centerfold drum kit, which has the scale helpers. Let me find that real quick. It was actually the minor harmonic. So it was this, because the minor harmonic has that note of tension, which is that B, which is right under that one note. And that's how I ended up getting these kind of tension notes at the end of the 808 sequence, which kind of creates that fill and adds that tension to the drum, to the 808 bounce. So then the second 808 pattern is it's something a little bit different to kind of add that energy into the beat, because I didn't want it to be droning and repetitive. And you know I love the singing 808s, even if it's going to be in a simple pattern. So, you know, I basically it's the same patterns, it's just some of the notes ended up getting octave. That's basically it. Right, some mosh pit shit. So that's it for the 808. And then, oh, let me show you the effects that I added to the 808, because it's not actually how it sounds like. It's close, but it's not totally how it sounds like. I added some Ozone 8 for the equalizer, which you can't even hear that because it's not, I don't have Ozone 8 on this computer, I have Ozone 6. So, but the EQ ended up, it was just something like this. I cut out the lows under 30 hertz because that's basically just nonsense noise. You can watch my 808 tutorial from a couple of weekends ago if you want to get more in-depth understanding of, you know, why I do that and how it affects the 808 quality. And then I just added some Camel Crusher. I used the Annihilate preset. I'm gonna copy this setting real quick. I had it all the way at first, and I was cool with that, but you can hear how it's like kind of just a lot. It's fucking a lot. So I ended up going with about 25% on the mix level, yeah, which you can see in the hint bar. Shout out to whoever told me that this is called the hint panel, by the way. I couldn't figure it out in my last tutorial. So just that you know, smidge of distortion makes it sound just extra dirty. So the last thing we have here are some textures. So let's move back up. And before we get into the textures, let's talk about this last kind of hi-hat pattern that I have going on in here. This is from the same Manny Fresh splice kit that I got this hit from. And I had the original hi-hat and it was cool, but again, I really wanted to capture that Manny Fresh drum bounce, and I was like, I could replicate it if I wanted to, but I was like, let me just go straight to the source. Again, being a producer is just about producing as efficiently as possible. You don't always have to, you know, show off your producer prowess, especially when you have tools like this. It was basically just a collab with Manny Fresh. I basically just had Manny Fresh come in and do some of the drums for me. That's basically how I was viewing it. So this is how that, you know, sounds like. This is how that drum loop sounds like. And there's no effects on that. I had a limiter, but it was just for side chaining the kick. If you want to learn more about side chaining, go check out that 808 tutorial that I dropped a couple of weeks ago. I'll link it in the description below. So yeah, let's talk about some of the textures that I added to this beat. The first one was this Vox. Can you guess where it came from? Yes, Artist FM Kit, man. Kit is crazy, bro. It's simple. Just it plays every four bars. Right. And then the next thing we have is I got this KO crowd noise ambient effect from the same kit that I got this Sanctuary kit. I mean this Sanctuary ambience. I can't remember the producer. I literally cannot remember the producer right now. And I know it'll take me a while to look, but yeah, this is what that sounds like. And it just adds that ambiance into the beat. It makes it sound way less dry. It makes it sound like you're almost like at a performance or something. And then again, I had Ozone 8. It was just to filter basically. So it was something like this. And then the limiter is just the side chain from the kick, because I wanted the kick to sound like it was punching in through the entire mix, which is why I did so many side chains. But that's basically the whole thing in terms of that ambient effect. So the next thing that I added was this air horn. And it's from Artist FM Kit, man. Simple. I didn't time stretch it or anything. What I ended up doing was I cut it in certain places to kind of add that, you know, bounce to the beat, that kind of energy. So it's pausing. It really ends up performing like a melody in this beat, especially in this part of the beat. So that's why I did all of that, just to kind of like create that energy. So yeah, I did do the EQ, and the EQ was again just a simple telephone EQ, cutting out some lows and highs, and then I added some basic reverb from RC20. Like I didn't even use any of the other effects. It was literally just to add some reverb so that when it would stop playing, it wouldn't sound so dry. Cause when I had it with no reverb, and it sounded something like this. It just sounds so much less real. Like an air horn wouldn't just stop. You know, the sound waves would continue even after you stopped blowing the air horn. The sound waves would continue to vibrate through the air, because that's how sound works. So I wanted to simulate that as best as possible. So I added some subtle reverb from RC Color, or from Retro Color, and that's how you get that effect of like making it sound more realistic. And then, so that's basically that. I didn't time stretch it or anything. I literally just brought it in and let it ring out. And then I brought it in one more time at the beginning of this next 8-bar sequence, and then let it ring out again. So the next effect that I added, or the next texture that I added, was this money counter. Now, this is what it sounds like. But the thing that I did with this is that I wanted it to hit where this snare would be hitting. Or like right after this snare. I wanted it to hit on beat. And it didn't do that initially. So what I did was I looked at where that little beep was hitting, because that was going to determine a lot of my bounce. And if I can take out the time stretch for a minute. What I ended up doing was I just brought it, I pressed the Alt key and then dragged it so that it wouldn't snap to the grid until it was at the place that I wanted it to be. So there we go. And that was it. That was it. I didn't pitch it, nothing. I think I'd barely added any effects. Yep, just the limiter for that drum punch so that it would punch down the signal whenever the kick was playing. That's it. Simple stuff, man. Simple stuff. This beat was so damn fun to make, bro. I'm telling you. So the last thing that I did was just this simple transition effect that I do in basically every single beat. Shout out the boy Cody. He's got the best transition. He's got one of the best transition games, best, you know, arrangement strategies in all of production. These come from his Space Cadet drum kit. These are just two separate transitions that I always put together to create this effect. Simple stuff, simple stuff. And then, you know, there's my tag if you care. Oh, you can't even hear it. And yeah, that's basically the whole beat. So like, let's listen back over the entire drum bounce one time through. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me in another one of these off-cuff weekend tutorials. If you guys want to see more breakdowns of any of my beats, please let me know, because I'm going to start breaking down a lot more of them. Like I said, I'm going to keep getting you guys this fire content if it kills me. So I literally don't care. I love going off script with you guys for these. These have ended up being some of my most fun, you know, tutorials to do, because scripting it is fun, following an outline is fun, but when I can just talk to you guys about the actual art, that's when I'm having the most fun, I promise you. So, you know, definitely drop a like on this video if you guys enjoyed it, if you learned something new, if you want to see me do more of these, because it helps me know what you guys want to see in the future, and it helps me know if you guys like what I'm doing currently. So, you know, drop a like. It also helps the channel, which is okay, I guess, but really it's important that I know what you guys want to see in the future. That's the real reason. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Like, thank you so much for coming by and spending this part of the Saturday with me. Like, I love you to death. I hope to see you in the next tutorial. I will see you in the next tutorial. Enjoy your weekend. Have a blessed day. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Peace.